Is it working? It's working. It's working. What's up, guys? Today we're going to rate the ugliest Pokemon in Generation 1. Let's get started. What's up, guys? Today we're gonna rate Pokemon by how ugly they are from Generation 1. Let's get started. Yes, that's... Yeah, it's the intro for YouTube. Ba, ba, da, ba, 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 da. Thanks for following, Hosso. What's up, Doctor? Yes, you are first. Well, technically, host is first for the follow. But how you doing, Doctor? I'm actually pretty excited. This is something different. We're gonna rate Pokemon today from Generation 1, from pristine to disgusting, on how they look. Okay? You like the leaf green music in the background? But before we do that, how are you, Doctor? How's life? How's life been? I finished the Jump King video. It's gonna go up tomorrow, which is pretty cool. And then we're gonna have I'll edit another video for next week. I'm gonna try to go for 1 to 2 videos a week, pretty much. I'm not gonna play Jump King, but yes, the Jump King video from Bro, honestly, I spent so much time editing it that just looking at Jump King right now just like hurts my soul. But the Jump King video from the 24-hour stream, essentially. I finally finished editing it. All right, for today though, we're gonna go over this, and then we'll play some Throne, the Throne game. And then we're gonna do community games probably. It has been a while. What's up, Diego? I don't know, it sounds to me like you can finally play it. Technically, yeah. I can. When we do community games, maybe we'll do a vote or something. You gotta go soon? Wow. That sucks. But how you been, Diego? I passed you in Power of Throne. Yeah, I saw that. What's up, Nathan? What's up, Craze? Yeah, we're ranking Pokemon from Generation 1 from pristine to disgusting. Okay? We're gonna rank every Pokemon in this generation. You know what I just realized? The chat kind of goes over that. Maybe I should change where the chat is. I've been decent, I guess. Just decent. Come on. Well, now you're amazing because you're here. Wait, where do I put this? I don't know where to put this where it's not in the way. Should I just leave it here? I'll put it here. I'll put it here. I'll put it here. Boom! Professional streamer over here. Yeah, that looks fine. Did you hear about the new COVID E10 variant? You're trolling, right? No, I haven't heard of that. Oh, yay, and I attack all the people near us? Yeah, why'd you do it? No, that's good. Oh, so funny, E10 this nuts! Oh, wow. What's up, Sai? You are very early today. I'm probably above neutral? Nah, I don't know, bro. There's Muck in here, right? I think Muck is in this gen. Yeah, there's Muck, bro. Muck is nasty, bro. Alright, let's start. Is that Jesus? What's up? I did it because fuck them for being here. What's up, Kasha? 151 Pokemon, baby. We're gonna start with Bulbasaur, this cute little plant Pokemon. It's pretty cute. Alright, he's not pretty ugly, I'll say that. Ivysaur looks cool. Ivysaur is cool. Bulbasaur looks cuter. Venusaur is ugly. Alright, Venusaur is freaking ugly. Look at his big mouth. He just says, bleh. That's all he does. He's ugly. Alright? Yesterday was the 6-month God Monkey. Oh, really? Damn. Wow, 6 months have already passed. And now we got Charmander, okay? I used to think Charmander was cute. Then I looked at him. And he has an egg-shaped head, like me. Look at my head and look at Charmander's head. It's like the same thing. And I'm pretty ugly. So, Charmander is pretty ugly. Alright. That's just common sense. Venusaur kind of looks like pink. When you call... Listen, Venusaur is ugly. He's just pretty ugly. He's not disgustingly ugly. He's just pretty ugly. Like, he got this big, wide head. And it just... That's all he does. Okay, he's ugly. You only need 90 more IQ. Nice. IQ minus bad opinion. Charmander is cute if it wasn't for his big head. He looks like that guy from that movie. Lilo and Stitch. He looks like a Lilo and Stitch character with his beady eyes and the... Not beady eye. I don't know, he just looks weird. Alright. Next is Charmeleon. Charmeleon's pretty cool. Charmeleon looks pretty cool. A little bit ugly, but he's pretty cool. Like, his cool shape of his head makes up for his weird-looking arms, so he looks pretty cool. No! See you, Diego. Yeah, it's egg-shaped, like mine. Sub-Jesus. Okay, Charizard. Charizard pristine. Yeah, Charizard's pristine. I gotta say, Charizard's pretty hot, bro. Even his X and Y versions are just pretty hot. Like, he's just pristine looking. Okay, you guys are right. I barely look at my power. 59,000, nice. Stream's still frozen? Aw. Alright. Huh. Bulbasaur, Squirtle is pretty cute. Alright, Squirtle's pretty cute. He has a look at Squirtle's head and then look at Charmander's head. Like, that's what a head should look like, okay? Like, his head looks cute, bro. He has a cute looking head. And then he got that, like, big, beautiful eyes, bro. Like, he might be above Bulbasaur. Yeah, he's above Bulbasaur. He's just so cute. Wartortle's also mad cute, bro. Also above, like, look at that blue color, bro. It's just beautiful. Okay? Squirtle, I don't know about pristine. I don't know if Squirtle's pristine. It's kind of hard to say. He's mad cute, though. I might move him up to pristine. Wartortle is definitely, like, freaking pretty or pristine. It's freaking sexy. Did you say frozen? Put Charmander in neutral? No, Charmander is ugly. Okay, look at his head. It's like my head. Exactly, he has this round head. Blastoise is a little weird. Blastoise, yeah, I'll say neutral. He got a tail. His tail looked so cute, bro. He had this like cute squirrely tail, and then it became like freaking like an angel's wings with Wartortle, and it just became like a pee-pee coming out of his ass. I don't know. I would say he's neutral. It's hard to give him anything else. Wow, you contributed a lot there, Nathan. All right, who's next? We got the little caterpillar. It's literally just a caterpillar. Huge head. Tiny tail. Tiny body. Kind of disgusting. But not that ugly, actually. It's like... he got that unibrow like me, so I can't disrespect him too much. I'll give him a neutral. Yeah, I'll give him a neutral. Sorry, Jesus. Yeah, pretty ugly or neutral. Alright, Metapod. Metapod hardens, and just having it harden is just so sexy that it has to be at least pretty. It has to be like, it's like here. The thing is, like, Ivysaur and Charmeleon look cool. They don't look pretty per se, you know? Alright, we got a little, we got a cutie pie over here. Pretty cute right here. Weedle is ugly, bro. Weedle's actually ugly. What, you think Metapod is disgusting? Nah. If you put Metapod about Charmander, I'll die. Bro, Charmander ugly. His head is ugly. Metapod, he could harden. And you always want, you know, if you're looking for a partner, you want them to harden, you know what I mean? So, like, he has to be up there. Then we got Weedle with this pointy-ass head. He's pretty ugly, bro. He's pretty ugly. Charmander looking kind of cute compared to these bugs, now that I think of it. But his head is just too much, bro. It's just too much. 100k points, disgusting. But Metapod doesn't have feet. Butts look interesting. His head isn't even that bad. Yeah, I'm starting to grow to his head. He looks like the guy from the Lilo and Stitch, though. Look, let me show you guys. You guys don't understand, okay? You guys don't understand. Yeah. Right. Oops, wrong thing. Wrong button. There we go, okay. Look, okay? Lilo and Stitch, the doctor, okay? Jumba. Look at his eyes. Now look at this. Look at Jumba, bro. It's like the same eyes. Or not Jumba. Maybe Stitch? Bro, he looks like Stitch eyes. Look at that. So ugly. I don't know. It's not Stitch. It's something. It's some character from Lilo and... If someone could tell me which character, like, you can't unsee it. Whatever, this is pointless. I can't find it. Yeah, I can't find it. Wrong one. I quit. Stitch isn't ugly. Stitch is... Yeah, Stitch is kind of cute. Stitch is kind of cute. Okay, Stitch is kind of cute. We'll be honest. Alright, next we got... He looks pretty... The Cocoon, okay? Kakuna. He looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, he looks pretty cool. But he's neutral. He's like a yellow brown color. Like, he looks like he would be cool if this was a cool ranking, but this is a cute ranking. He's not cute. All right. And he's just... I would put him at pretty ugly, but he's showing off his pee-pee. He's shameless, which I respect. So we're gonna put Pedro up there, okay? Now Pidgey's a hard one, guys. I'll tell you why Pidgey is hard. Pidgey is hard because his feet is ugly. All right, his feet are ugly. Look at those feet, bro. Look at those feet. His feet is just disgusting, bro. I mean, it's like a bird's feet, so it makes sense, but it's not cute. Okay, the rest of him, you could say he's cute. His feet are ugly. Charizard is cute, but Charmander got that egg head, bro. I'm telling you. Charizard is pristine. He's beautiful and, like, cool, okay? He's like a Charmeleon. Look, if Charmander had Charmeleon's head or Squirtle's head, he would be pretty cute, alright? That's what makes him ugly, okay? Pidgey, I'm gonna say he's pretty ugly. Pidgey, he's either pretty ugly or neutral. It's hard to say. It's the feet, bro. Like, when you have... Imagine a baby that looks cute. Imagine a baby with an adult head. That's what Pidgey is. Pidgey's whole body is cute. And then you got this ugly feet. I don't know. It kind of ruins it. It kind of ruins it. Is Charmander... No, Charmander still looks so terrible. Because that's his whole head, bro. It's like 1/3 of his body. Okay. He's pretty cute, bro. He's pretty sexy. He's pretty sexy, actually. He's pretty sexy, bro. Pidgey, what? What's his name? Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto looks cuter than Pidgey... Nah, Pidgeotto's pretty cute. Pidgeotto's pretty cute. Okay. Your body is cute? Oh. That's so sweet. That's so sweet. Alright, then we got Pidgeot. Pidgeot is basically a cooler Pidgeotto. We got Rattata. Disgusting. It's a freaking rat! It's a rat with buck head teeth, whatever that's called. It's disgusting. This is like an even more disgusting rat. Okay? I don't know why they made this character. Why they made the disgusting tail. But his feet look better than Pidgey's. His feet look better. Then we have Sparrow. Sparrow is unique. I'll tell you why Sparrow is unique compared to the other Pokemon. Okay? With the bird feet. Sparrow looks like it's like an agile, strong bird. Okay, you look at Pidgey, he looks like a cute, kind of strong with his strong eyes and beak, but he's fluffy. He's a cute, fluffy bird. This boy's not fluffy. He's sharp everywhere. You piss him off, he attacks you, right? So here the feet actually match. The claws match his whole thing. But he's still got that weird red pink thing coming out of his brown body. So we're gonna go with neutral here. Probably the worst neutral. Okay. You're not gonna put the gross bug Pokemon higher than Rattata? Bro, Rattata is ugly, bro. It's a rat. It's a rat with bug head teeth and red eyes, which means it's evil. Actually, no, Bulbasaur has red eyes. Bro, Metapod is just chilling. Caterpie is cute, bro. He's like, yeah. He got those circle hands, feet. Rattata is a disgusting Pokemon. Alright, next we got Pharaoh. Pharaoh? Yeah, Pharaoh. He got a long beak. He got the Jewish beak. It's okay, I'm Jewish. I could say that. He has a Jewish beak. He's pretty neutral. He's pretty neutral. He's pretty neutral. Yeah. You're gonna be there with your son right here. Caterpie's cute, right? Exactly. Now Ekans is kind of weird. Ekans is a weird one. Okay? Ekans is literally a rattlesnake. It has a rattle thing in the tail, and it's a snake. But his eyes are disgusting. His eyes look disgusting. Like, no animal's eyes should look like that. You don't see the pupils. It's literally just a slit in the middle of his eyes. So, that, he becomes pretty disgusting. He actually takes the cake for disgusting because of that. Now, when he evolves somehow he fixes his eyes. So now he's kind of cool. But then he got this weird art going on. And it's just like, why add, like, fake eyes? I'm guessing those are eyes to scare, like, predators. But, like, bro, you're a snake. Because of his eyes in the middle of his body, and he has, like, a pan-shaped, like a circle-shaped body, he's neutral. Pretty ugly. Oh, Weedle's not that ugly. Yeah, I'll say pretty ugly, actually. Because he's uglier than them. You right now? What is this? Whoa! Jesus Christ. That looks delicious. But you see how equal all of his parts are? Jesus! He's just circles. His whole body is circles. It's beautiful. You could do anything with him. You can't do that with Charmander. You know, it's proven that symmetry equals beauty, like, objectively, kind of. So, what's up, Ethan? Long time no see. How are ya? What's up? And next we got Pikachu, bro. Pikachu's so cute, and he has Ju in his name, so I gotta say he's pristine. Pikachu, bro. He's like a perfect Pokemon. He got cute little dimple cheeks, and then he got the zigzag like tail. Like, he's so cute, bro. He's pristine. Exactly. You starting your 4th day of school? Sheesh. How you enjoying school? If you are enjoying. Raichu, it becomes a bit more difficult. Raichu, they just added. I like his, like, tan orange look, but then his, like, brown ears. I don't know. It fits, but why not keep the black ears? He's pretty sexy. I don't know. He's pretty sexy. I don't know if I could put him at pristine. Put him there, cause Wartortle is just so sexy looking. It's hard to, like. I might have to move him up to pristine, actually. He's so sexy, bro. Yeah, I can't. Wartortle is pristine. Yeah, he's pristine. Especially looking at these pictures. Like, he even looks more beautiful than Charizard. You're attacking? Very nice. Last year of middle school, aka 1 year before I become a freshman. Congrats! Well, not congrats yet, but... You looking forward to high school? You only like Pikachu because Nintendo wants you to? If Nintendo was sponsoring me, maybe, but... No, these are just my thoughts, bro. Alright, now we got the, what's his name? The guy that goes in the thing. What's his name again? Does anyone remember his name? Hell no, you're not excited for high school? I liked high school more than middle school, personally, but... What's his freaking name, this stupid guy? He goes into, like, a thing, and he goes, like that. I honestly don't remember his name. Sandshrew, yes! He literally has sand in his name. Sandshrew, pretty cute, bro. He's pretty cute. I almost want to put neutral. I almost want to put neutral. But he's kind of cute, bro. Now that I look at Charmeleon, I don't know if Charmeleon is cute. He's cool. I don't know if he's cute. Sandshrew kind of looks cuter than Charmeleon. It's actually hard. I'll put him at neutral. I feel like Blastoise looks cooler. I swear to God, when you get to Ninetales, you better put Ninetales in pristine. We'll see. Maybe not, maybe. Alright, now we got Sandslash, right? What a stupid name. We gotta do a naming one in the future. What kind of name is Sandslash? His name is Sandslash, right? Sandslash? I think so. He looks pretty cool. He got those long nails, but everything is spiky. He's like a porcupine, and porcupines are cool. So, we'll put him here, bro. I'll say he's cooler than Ivysaur and Charmeleon, maybe. Vulpix, we'll get to them, They're coming up. Alright, we got this, big-headed bro, this guy's ears are like Dumbo, bro. Then he got the buck teeth from, like, Rattata. And half his body is literally his ears and his face. And he has red eyes. This guy's disgusting. Okay? You could join your family here with all your disgusting friends. You know what? No, you're not that disgusting. Wait, you're not that disgusting. Is Rattata... You're cuter than Rattata, I guess, though. Now, for some reason, when he evolves, it's like he goes through puberty, bro. His ears become smaller. Her, actually. It's not his. Her ears become... Nidorina, right? Nidorina? Whatever. Her ears become smaller. She looks more ferocious. She grows in some nice teeth. She becomes kind of cool. Neutralish / cool. Yeah. Yeah. She still looks like an adolescent. Like, not fully mature. So it's kind of hard to put her at pretty. But then we got... we got Nidoqueen, and you gotta look at those. You gotta appreciate those assets that she has. So she's pretty cool. She's pretty cute. She's more mature, too. I'll put her here. Alright, this guy has the same problem, okay? This guy has literally the same problem as his sister. Your ears are huge. Your face looks better, though. Your face at least looks better. But I don't know why you have those ears, though. It's disgusting. And his ears never improve. Like, ugh. Like, you're cool, but ugh. Fix your ears. He looks aggressive, and I like that. And he got that pointy... I love when they show their pointy selves. They're comfortable with themselves around others, so he's pretty neutral. Now this becomes a bit hard, actually, because his arms look stupid. His arms and his hands look like a robot's arms. I don't know if I could put him high up, to be honest. I'd have to go with neutral. His arms and his ears just don't get smaller. Like, learn from your sister, bro. Your sister had huge ears, then they became smaller, and then they became normal. You know, you had huge ears. They became smaller, and they became, like, a little smaller, maybe? Or your body just fit the ears? I don't know. Yeah, we're doing all of the 151, original 151 for now. We got how... Is that a lot? We might do it in 2 parts or something, because there's a lot more than that. I didn't think it would take this long. I forgot what this girl's name is. Clefairy or something. No, it's not Clefairy. Whatever, this guy's pretty cute. Alright, she's pretty cute. Alright. She's pretty cute. Because cute overcomes the coolness. Is she that cute though? Her ears look mad weird. Yeah, she's not that cute. Clefairy and Clefable, yeah. Clefable just became ugly. I don't know what they did to Clefairy or whatever. Like, this actually looks kind of cute. Yeah! You know, the dimples. Dimples, bro. Dimples hits me, bro. Like, Pikachu, bro. That's some beautiful dimples. They're it's perfectly circular. And then, hers are, like, kind of semicircular. But then, like, you got this girl that's just ugly. She's just ugly. She's pretty ugly. She's pretty ugly. Not as ugly as Charmander, but she's pretty ugly. Like, like you added like these three things coming out of her, which like looks kind of cool, but then everything about her looks like a grown-up baby. It's just disgusting. It's kind of disgusting. The more I look at this character, the more disgusted I am. Oh my god. Her eyes and her mouth is smaller than her... Jesus, it's disgusting. It's actually disgusting. Rattata looking kind of fine lately. Jesus. Look at those eyes. Look at that mouth. It's actually scary. Clefairy is pretty fuckable. Not too much uglier. Neutral, maybe. Not disgusting. That's what I thought until I looked at her face, bro. Look, when she's normal, she's smiling, bro. Her mouth is like 10% of her height. Okay? When she evolves, her mouth, her smile becomes an old... She looks like she's depressed or stressed or like an elderly woman inside of a baby's body. It's disgusting. She has features of like a child, of a baby, and then her eyes just... And her... the color is just... Everything is wrong. Bro, Vulpix. Oh my god. Vulpix. Old people are beautiful. You can be pretty without smiling. No, but she's smiling here. That's what makes it scary. Old people are beautiful if they're under the age of 100. She's like 100. No offense to the 100-year-olds out there. Vulpix is pretty. I don't know about pristine, but Vulpix is pretty sexy. Like in a pretty way. Those eyes are like beautifully circle. She got that like stuff going on her hair. Her ears kind of stick out, but the hair makes up for it. And her tail is sexy. I'll put her here. I really like wings for some reason. The wings of Pidgeotto and Pidgeot are so majestic that they can't be overtaken very easily. Alright, we're coming up to some cute Pokemon here. Ninetales is premier. Pristine. Huh. Let me move the chat. Let me just do this. Let's put this here. So it doesn't block as many things here. Yeah? Good. Boom. I can't argue. Ninetales is pretty pristine. I can't argue. Yeah. Wartortle just has this simplistic yet divine look to it. He literally has like angelic like ears and a tail that is so hard to overcome him. But Ninetales is like pretty sexy. Like if Ninetales was a person, you know? And like if you look closely, it like looks sick. It looks like a really cool like the cat with a lot of tails. It's hard between Charizard and Ninetales though. Too many tails and spelt wrong. Cringe. 0 out of 10. That was the joke. Too many tails. Wait, isn't it Ninetales? And then we got this cute freaking Pokemon, bro. Every Pokemon that has this thing. Oh no, I just noticed something. Oh no, Wigglypuff. That's Wigglypuff, right? Or something else. I don't remember. No, Wigglypuff is the evolution. That's Jigglypuff. Bro, I was gonna say every Pokemon with the hair on the top is like really cute, bro. You got Vulpix, Pidgeotto, Pidgeot, Ninetales. But then I realized, like, if you actually look at it, it looks like it's like deformed. It looks like it was born with a deformity, and it just like grew out of its head. It's just kind of freaking me out the more I look at it. The eyes, everything's circular. It's so cute, bro, and that just ruins it. It would have been pristine. Still pretty cute though. It could rock it for some reason. It's pretty cute. It's still cute with the deformed like head. Not this song. All the Pokemon creepypastas going back. Jigglypuff pristine, Wigglytuff disgusting. Yeah, it's definitely pretty. It's deformed though. It's so hard to decide. I think I'll leave it like that though. Wigglytuff somehow rocks it. He rocks it. Like his eyes are placed like perfectly. It's still circular. The ears aren't ruined like the other evolutions of the like little like bug like Nidoran and stuff. And he's like, "Yo, what's up?" He looks like a wise, like smart, like teenager, maybe adult, like young adult, like he or she, or you know, there or whatever. Like Wigglytuff looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of cool. Nah, Vulpix looks cooler. I'd put him there. I'd put him here. Wigglytuff is cute, bro. Cashew, you don't know what you're talking about. Wigglytuff is cute. Wigglytuff is cute, bro. Look, it actually looks like fashion now. Instead of a look here, it literally looks deformed. Jigglypuff looks like it's like gonna die in 5 minutes from like brain cancer or something. Like Wigglytuff, actually, it looks like a design. It looks cute, bro. It looks like did up his hair or like he or she hid the deformality, and then her eyes became like bluer and lighter, and like she's like, "Hey, what's that?" Like she's cute, bro. She wants to play. I'm cute. Oh, thanks, Cashew. Alright, next we got Zubat. How many Pokemon are left? Jesus! Next we got Zubat. Zubat's pretty ugly. What makes me not want to make Zubat disgusting is that he looks like a pet like a toy a toy pen that you could have, or like you could do chopsticks with his like legs. Like it looks like usable, and he's like symmetric like down the head, so it looks pretty cool, you know. I'm trying to find like things that are wrong with him, but he doesn't look that bad. Golbat's just screaming, bro. Golbat's screaming. He doesn't look that bad. I don't know why. Golbat doesn't look bad. Like, the unique... But he's not cute, though. His wings... He kind of cute. He'd be screaming at you all the time, though. He would always be screaming at you. It's pretty ugly, actually. I don't want him to scream at me all the time. Oh, he's laughing? But his eyes look like he'll kill you. No, I don't think he's cute. He would give incredible head. That is true. Alright, next is Oddish. Oddish is pristine. Nah, Oddish is cute. Oddish is pretty cute, bro. Oddish is so freaking cute. When I used to play Pokemon a lot, like, oh, bro. Anytime I see an Oddish in the, like, wild, I just want to look at him, bro. Even though he sucks, it's an Oddish. Like, he's so cute, bro. Like, the legs, it's like little boop, boop, boop legs. Like you would hear in an anime, like, boop, 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 for the footsteps. And it's just a circle, bro. He's just a bean with, like, leaves on top. It's cute, bro. But he's not cool, which is what makes it hard to make him pristine. If you pay attention, all the pristine Pokemon are not only cute, but they're sexy. And they're, like, they look, like, strong and, like strong, independent, like, women or men, you know? That's what they look like. Can we rank the Pokemon based on which would give the best head? Then Golbat would be on top. We might do that next time, sure. I don't even remember this idiot's name. I don't even remember. You just disgust. You just disgust me. You're worse than Rattata because you would drool all over me and you wouldn't even care because you're an asshole. And then you become freaking sexy. Actually, pristine. Vileplume, I think it's Vileplume, is actually freaking sexy. Pristine. Okay? You got the form of an Oddish with like a head that like blocks your face in a way that makes like you look like a cool anime character that's strong and never talks in the show and that's gonna die like in the middle of the show. That's what Vileplume looks like. Vaporeon OP. Vaporeon is pretty sexy. We got Paris, who's freaking pretty ugly, bro. He's pretty ugly. I don't think he's disgusting, but those teeth though. He's pretty ugly though. He's definitely ugly. This guy is disgusting. Nah, he's just pretty ugly. He's an old guy that needs like reading glasses. I feel bad for him, so I'm gonna just make him ugly. I don't think he's disgusting. Bro, all these bugs, bro. You're disgusting. You have circle, but you're fluffy circle. You're disgusting. And you have like human feet or like rabbit feet. It's just disgusting. This almost becomes... It's very hard to make a bug pristine. It's pretty hot Pokemon. Not gonna lie, pretty hot. The eyes make you look a little adorable and weird. It freaks me out at the same time. So, you're gonna be here. Alright, now we got the sexy Pokemon, bro. Jesus. Maybe we should move a little faster here. We got Diglett. Diglett! What do you guys think? What does Diglett look like? Neutral? Yeah, it's hard to pin him. He's like... I feel like in my... It's hard to... I'm gonna say he's neutral. I think that's fair. Caterpie looking uglier by the second. I gotta move you, Caterpie. You're actually annoying me. He disgusting? Diglett's disgusting? Why is he disgusting? If it's a mouth, then top of pretty. If it's a nose, bottom of neutral. Oh yeah, that's what the thing is. Yeah, if it's a mouth, he's so cute, bro. Nah, we're gonna say it's a nose. I think it was meant to be a nose, so. It's just 3 more of him. The only reason why I would rate him higher than himself is because himself is like a thumb coming out of the ground. But this is like 3 fingers. And I'd rather have 3 fingers than a thumb. You know, if you know what I mean. So. Meowth. Bro, it's so hard with some of these Pokemon, bro. Meowth is pretty? He's pretty ugly, bro. I'm allergic to cats. No. I don't want no cats in here. He's like a prepubescent. What is it called? Prepubescent. Before you're a teenager. Look at those scrawny legs and arms, and that tail looks like I could just cut it off with a pair of scissors. But then his face looks decent, but at the same time he looks like he's on drugs, bro. Look at those eyes. Prepubescent, yeah. I'm not biased. Look, listen, cat. Look, I think this cat looks cool. He's close to being pristine if he didn't have Naruto whiskers. He's pretty cute. I feel like Charmeleon and Ivysaur are not getting much love. And now we got the idiot Psyduck. Psyduck is pristine. What? Psyduck's stupid. Psyduck literally got a twig for hair. Psyduck is not pristine. Psyduck has a beaver nose, and Psyduck just does not make sense. I'll say he neutral. He a little chunky. I like that. He's like a cooler version, and I don't know how they're related. This is like first cousins that are married and no one knows because they don't look alike. I don't know how they're related. He's actually cool. Sandslash looks cooler than him though. Golduck disgusting. Bro, he's very pointy though. And he has a beak that's like he's all pointy. His pointiness looks cool. Okay, we got the Blockbuster Meowth right here. It's pretty much a monkey. I kind of have to put monkey at pristine. Because, God Monkey, because of how the channel is, but... Wait, let me make this a little... Let's make this a little... There we go. A little better here. So we could see everything. Golduck is way better. You're wrong, Cashew. I agree. Golduck is not... Psyduck is not pristine. Golduck is not disgusting. Like, but it's crazy how you rate them so differently. They're like the same evolution thing, right? Mankey's a little hard. Mankey's like this. I feel like you wouldn't fight well like this. You're supposed to be a fighting Pokemon, right? I think. Like, this is kind of stupid. But you got a tail like a monkey. But you're supposed to be cute, right? It looks like a ball, and out of a ball, like, just lines came out of the ball and just sprouted outside of a ball. Like a fur ball. I'll say neutral. Yeah, I think that's fair. The only one I have a strong opinion on is Abra being pretty. Abra's pretty ugly. Nah, I don't know. We'll get to Abra. Primeape. See, the thing with Primeape is, like, he improves so much of, like, Mankey. He's not fighting like this anymore. He's fighting like this, bro. He's like, ooh! You get in my way, I punch you in the face, bro. He's ready. And that's what makes him kind of pretty, bro. Almost pristine. If he wasn't a fur ball with, like, legs coming out of him. Oh, it's so hard. The more I see all these Pokemon, the less Butterfree looks cute. Oh my god. Oh my god, Growlithe is actually so cute, bro. He's angry, ugly tree. Stop bullying me. Yo, Growlithe is actually so sexy. Growlithe is one of those pre-evolution Pokemon that somehow still looks pristine, bro. Like, Growlithe looks like a teenager in an anime that you want to be. Like, when I watch anime and I see, like, a brown or, like, a tan teenager character that looks cool with, like, black hair and blue eyes, that's, like, Growlithe. Like, I wish I was that person. Like, I wish I didn't have my egg-shaped head like Charmander. Like, this is, like, who I want to be. And his pose, he's ready for anything, bro. He's like a puppy, bro. I can't believe I'm doing this, but... I don't know. I don't know if that's right. Better than Ninetales? I'll leave him there for now. Ninetales looks like the slick, like, person that would, like, seduce you and then steal all your money. Growlithe looks like a loyal, like, dog, bro. Or not dog, well, like a loyal person. And Arcanine is just, like, a sexier Growlithe, bro. Oh my god, it's so hard to compare Arcanine. I'm telling you, Wartortle's freaking angelic tail just is so hard to compete with. Yeah, they got pristine Doctor. I don't know, Cashew. Ninetales is like slick. Looks like that slick guy, you know? They're not one of them is better. They're tied, not one of them is better. Maybe. I mean, you could say that since they're next to each other, so. I wish Poliwhirl, or whatever, this Politoad, or whatever the hell this little, like, tadpole's name is, was cute. I wish I could say it was very cute, pretty cute, or whatever. But, like, why do you have a tail? Your tail looks like a rowboat. Like a thing to row the boat. And then your nose just looks stupid. But you're not ugly. You just look stupid. But he's kind of cute. He's kind of cute. And he's just an improvement. You lose your tail finally, and you got these boxing gloves. You're ready to fight. You don't do much leg day, but you got those like strong arms. You got a good belly, so you could like belly drum people back, like the panda from Kung Fu Panda, Po. You got them cute circular eyes. He pretty cute. He pretty cute. It's so hard to compete with Vulpix. He's pretty cute though. To swim? Yeah, but he doesn't need the tail to swim anymore later. Oh, because I guess he has arms. Now here he just becomes an angry fool. And his mouth is just squiggly lines. Where before his squiggly line mouth looked kind of cute. And like hypnotizing, it was kind of like, okay, whatever, belly drum or whatever. Now he looks just like he would like that's all he's doing in his life. But he's not ugly. I'll say you there, bro. You neutralish. Bro. First things first, Abra is Asian. Okay. And then he evolves into like an Indian guy or something. I don't know. But Abra is Asian. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying. Probably I shouldn't say that. Maybe it's not right. His feet look like a bird's feet, like Raticate's feet. Makes no sense. You're not a bird, bro. Stop trying to be a bird or a rat. Do you really want to be with Raticate and like Pidgey and like Pharaoh and Mankey and like Sparrow? Like these guys, like your feet. Why do your feet look like that? You don't perch onto anything. You just teleport. You're a useless Pokemon. You do nothing. And your tail is bigger than your whole body. Which is actually not bad. It kind of looks cool. But then he got those like brown like shoulders like Vegeta or something. But he has such a big head, bro. I don't know, Cashew. He has such a big head. I'll say he's neutral. I can't call him pretty, bro. It's hard for me to call him pretty. With that head, bro, I don't know. I feel like if he wasn't a psychic Pokemon, his head would fall because it's just so much weight. Then we got Kadabra. Now, Kadabra's feet still look weird, you know? But he got a spoon. And he got a sexy mustache. And that sexy mustache just bumps him up like 50 points, bro. Alakazam is like almost pristine, bro. He's not that cute. He's not that cute, so I can't make him like pristine. But he's like so close. He's like a Pidgeot. But he's so sexy, bro, that it's hard to put him low. Incorrect liar fool. Well, you guys think Abra is higher? I know Cashew does, but Alakazam's mad pretty, bro. He could just hypnotize you to make you think that you're pretty. Thank you, Cashew. Thank you. What is this song? I don't remember the song. How many guys do we have? Sheesh! Actually, we're doing pretty well. Machop. Machop got a cool haircut, I'm not gonna lie. Now, I would say his hand is huge, but I think it's just perspective of how he was drawn. Because if you look at his other hand, it looks pretty normal. He looks like a naked, like, child, which is kind of cringe. Kind of weird to look at a naked child. He's actually a naked child. It's actually kind of disgusting. Charmander, I wish you had a better head. Now Machop actually improves. He gets some underwear. He gets fit. He's like a teenager now. Teenagers go out in their underwear sometimes, I guess. Outside. It's not as weird. And his hair still looks pretty cool. He looks like an Italian mobster or something. He's like a Charmeleon. But without fire, so he's not as cool. Then bro, this guy has 4 arms. He's like Grievous, Dr. Grievous or whatever from Star Wars. He's just cool. And he keeps the same underwear. He doesn't change. Which is pretty hot. That bumps him up like 50 points, bro. He's like a muscular, like if I was a woman, I would hit that, bro. 4 arms, bro. What can you do with 4 arms? You can do so much with 4 arms. But I would say Oddish is still cuter. I think that's fair. What's up, Dino? Post Ping Pong is the ugliest Pokemon. If only I was a Pokemon. He doesn't change his underwear, which you might think is kind of disgusting, but it actually shows how flexible and beautiful it is. That it was able to fit into his bigger self, and he doesn't poop much. And when he pees, he puts down his underwear, so it's okay. And he doesn't have much pubic hair. You can do so much with 4 arms. Exactly, that's what I'm saying, bro. I know what I can do with 4 arms. Okay, this... I don't know if I should be creeped out or impressed, bro. Freaking Bellsprout, bro. Bellsprout, bro. Your legs are roots of a tree, bro. What are you doing? Imagine a plant. Imagine you plant a plant and that plant gets up and runs away from you. Is it cute or freaking horrifying? If it runs like that, it's actually pretty cute. This is actually pretty cute. The way he's running. And he could use his like leaves to support his head, since his neck can't support his head. Like, look at his neck, bro. Actually pretty cute. Actually, somehow pretty cute. Nah, but pretty neutral. Pretty neutral. Pretty, like, barely cute. Barely cute. Barely cute. It's starting to get hard. That's what she said. This guy, he just got this big mouth. He's just retarded. He's just stupid. Like, look, he thinks he has wings. He turned his arms into wings. Like, his freaking head, tail, I don't even know what the hell's going on in his head. Like, he's just... You lost your body. You're just that floating piece of head with, like, a devil, like... You're just disgusting, actually. The more I think about it, you're actually a disgusting Pokemon. Like, you're disgusting. But it looks like a human... It looks like Homer Simpson. You look like Homer Simpson. But I don't know how disgusting he is. He's actually pretty up there for disgusting. It's pretty up there. Because he's just a floating head. If we wager 40k points and I got Gun Monkey right now. You could do that if you want. It's a weird looking fleshlight. Exactly. Alright. He got a little, like, dick out there that comes out of his, I don't even know what, this man. He got cool looking hair. He got cool eyes that are shaded by his head. And he kind of grew a body. So he actually looks pretty cute now. I don't know if cute is the right word, though, so we're going to put him here. Because I don't know if I would consider him cute. You only got 28k? Aw. You guys have so little points. I have unlimited. Now we got Tentacruel. Tentacruel reminds me of Bellsprout, bro. With those legs. Ugh, or those arms. Kind of cute. No homo. Like, his head, jelly head, looks like eyes. Kind of cute. Kind of cute. Tentacruel, bro. He got the Jewish nose. Respect. Looks like a badass, bro. Looks like he would freaking put all his arms into you, bro. But at the same time, he looks so cool, but I don't know how cute he is. You know? I think he's okay there. I barely come on her. Whoa! You barely come on her? Ew. Decrease the price? What should I decrease it to? You gotta go? Alright, see you, Dino. Alright, we gotta go faster with this list, bro. I'm too slow. I overthink it. Geodude just got those flimsy arms, and then he got those strong hands. He's kind of cute, though. I'm not gonna lie. Even though he has like no butt, he's just a rock. He's kind of cute. Definitely cuter than Charmeleon. Then he becomes neutral. This just reminds me of a Diglett. He's just, you know. Now this Pokemon, guys. Decrease it to 10, then 100 million after someone buys it. I could decrease it to something, and then after someone gets it, it just increases like exponentially or something. That is a possibility. But no, after 100k, it'll go up to 200k. How about that? Nah. I think after 100k, I do want to keep it. I might decrease it. I might decrease it to 50k. How about that? Some random lady called you. Ooh, what'd she say? Now, the problem with Golem, he's literally a rock. He has a coolish face. And then he got these arms and legs. That's just disgusting, bro. It's actually freaking disgusting. Like, you look disgusting, bro. Your feet look like webbed feet from like a water Pokemon. And water kills you. It just makes no sense. Your whole life makes no sense. You're actually, unironically, almost the ugliest Pokemon here. Ponyta almost has that Growlithe Gravita. I think that's a word. But too immature, bro. Too immature. We gotta make you pretty cute. Cuter than Vulpix? I don't know. I don't know about that. Actually, I don't even know about that. There's a lot in the pretty category. 100k, a million. I think that wouldn't be fair. I mean, think about it. Like, I was streaming quite a bit in the past, and Nathan's the only one that has ever gotten God Monkey, and it's been like 6 months. Obviously, not all of you have been here for 6 months, but yeah. I'm gonna make the AC higher, because Jesus Christ, I'm sweating. Rapidash improves on Ponyta, but too white, bro. Too albino. No, actually, I shouldn't say that. Ninetales kind of looks like that. Rapidash is kind of pristine. Rapidash is kind of pristine. Rapidash is actually, no cap, kind of pristine. I gotta increase Pikachu, though. Pikachu is so freaking sexy. Rapidash is kind of pristine. Yeah, not as long as I thought either. Maybe you unfollowed and then followed? Only 2 months? That actually surprises me. And now we got Slowbro. If Slowbro didn't have that dumb face kind of makes him cute. His tail's so long though, but hey, you know what that means. Like, yeah, he's kind of cute. Pretty cute. Pretty cute. Pretty cute. Yeah, I would say that's good. And then Slowbro. Slowbro pretty cute, bro. He's standing up, bro. He's a Slowbro, but he's cool, bro. He kind of cute. He pretty cute. He kind of cute. He pretty cute. He's definitely cuter than his. Yeah, he's pretty cute, bro. He's pretty cute. We got Magneton. He's just neutral, bro. He's just electric ball. Like, not even that like original, bro. You're nothing. You're nothing in my eyes. You literally mean nothing. I've been here longer than Cashew. That doesn't seem right. Or I guess pretty much exactly the same. Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me as well. Godman's kind of useless because it's only once a month now. Yeah, but your name is always on the screen, which is kind of cool. Think about it. When I become a famous YouTuber / streamer, like, you could go back to videos from years ago, and your name will be there. Just remember that. I checked when that Jump King stream was, and it was about 2 months ago. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but Cashew, I met you before the Jump King stream. We went into your stream before I did the 24-hour Jump King stream. And Doctor met me at the end of the 24-hour Jump King stream. So, Cashew, you've definitely been around longer. This guy looks cool. He improves. He's basically like a Doug Trio. Like, you basically made yourself look better. We got a bird. He got that unibrow. And he got webbed feet. But he got the unibrow. And he got food, bro. I don't think any other Pokemon has food here. Like, you got Alakazam with the spoon ready to eat, but no one else has food. That's what makes you special. Well, actually, I guess you have an egg. But that's what makes you special. And you got a unibrow, which I must respect. But the unibrow makes you kind of ugly, I'm not gonna lie. You kind of ugly, bro. You kind of ugly. You kind of ugly. You kind of ugly, bro. You're not a naked child, though. Yeah, that looks good. So within the same week. You followed June 9th? Oh, cool. Pink, sorry, but that going to be hard for you to get famous. Wow, thanks, Nathan. You don't think I'll be famous? I didn't say it would be easy, but I will be famous one day. And by famous, I mean at least my mom will watch some of my videos. Thank you, Cashew. Thanks for believing in me. Listen, I always try out different things. So that means something, right? We got Dodo. Bro, why? I mean, you're a bird, so I guess it makes sense for you to have those feet. You pretty cute. You pretty cute. For a bird. Alright, you're pretty cute for a bird. Now you look cooler. But you don't look cuter. You got that weird pink tail. Your bro is gonna have to take it from you there. Next we got the... Oh my god. The seal's actually cute. I'm talking blanket. What do you call that one person who likes cuts and sells meats? Bro, you're doing some stupid joke, bro. Person who likes cuts and sells meats? A meat seller? I don't know. Alright, let's make this smaller again so we could do stuff. Sheesh! Hopefully you guys can see everything fine. Alright, next we got the Celio. Celio, you're freaking sexy. You're actually really, really pretty. Okay? And your evolution is actually pristine. You're like the you're no joke the definition of pristine. Like that if someone were to say, pick one Pokemon that is pristine from the list that we have so far, what would you pick? You would pick Dugong. Not because of the name. The name is not pristine. But you just look so pristine. You have circular features. You got the wings on your... Not wings. The wings. Whatever. So good, bro. Meat seller these nuts. What does that mean? Meat seller these nuts? I don't even know what that means. Alright, next we got Grimer. Grimer? He's actually pretty cute. He's like, he's actually pretty cute, bro. He's mad cute. Muck is just disgusting. Muck is actually just... Nah, Muck, you're pretty ugly. You're not disgusting. You actually look better than a lot of them here. Which kind of surprised me. Are you calling him fat? Who? Grimer? Nah, he's a cute little guy, bro. He's not fat. Grimer looks like a Wojag. What's a Wojag? Wojag. Oh, this meme? Not really. Dogon? Dogon these nuts? Alright, now we got the shell. Yo, your tail... Your tail. Your tongue is so freaking... that if you were a person, but you're not a person. Kind of looks weird, to be honest. I don't know how to feel with him. I actually don't know how to feel with him. I kind of want to say he's cute, but at the same time, he's kind of like weird, bro. Because you don't know what's behind the shell. Like, is it just a black circle? If you're just a black circle, like sphere, like, are you cute? I don't know. I'm gonna have to say neutral. It's actually hard to say. No, the Pokemon named Dugong. It's Dugong. Wojag these nuts. Wojag these nuts? Wojag? 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 What does that mean? Wojag these nuts? I don't know what that means. It's Dugong. Here, let me type it out. Dugong. I think that's how you spell his name. Alright. Same thing. I don't really know, but you're definitely not as cute as your other self. Yeah, we'll leave you there. Nah, you're not even that cute, bro. You're, like, ugly. Yeah, I think that's fair. Jesus. It's getting so much we have to keep zooming out. Alright, next we got Ghastly. Oh, we're almost done, though. Ghastly's kind of cute. Blossom actually looks cuter. And then Grimer, you don't look cute, bro. You don't look cute. I'll say you neutral. You look cool, but you don't really look cute. And then, oh, that's Haunter. And then Gengar. Gengar is so cool. I know so many people love him and are gonna hate me for this, but Gengar looks like a cool Pokemon, but he's not cute, bro. I mean, he kind of cute, but he's scary, bro. He's kind of scary. We gotta make him at neutral, okay? Epicurdo. Hello. Ping Pong doesn't understand comedy. I don't. I'm too stupid. Epicurdo. You look familiar, but also not too familiar. Have you been here before? Gengar's cute. Cute not? Cute not? I kind of miss PP emote. Aww. Alright, we got Onyx. Onyx is not cute. He's neutral, bro. He's neutral. He just rocks. He's literally just rocks. Oh my god. The more I look at Graveler, ew. You're ugly. Okay. Then we got... This guy's so ugly, bro. He looks like he shit his pants, bro. You're disgusting. You disgust me. You actually disgust me. And then you grow up to be an actually pervert. Actual pervert. You hypnotize people and you're naked with a scarf on. Disgusting. Disgusting. But you're not that disgusting. I'll say you're pretty ugly, bro. Yeah, I'll say you're pretty ugly. I've been here before, but it's been a very long time. Work plus studies is hard. Gotcha. My bad that I didn't 100% recognize you. Welcome back, though. Fun fact, Kentucky is the only state that starts with K. That's not true. Kansas. Stupid. Kansas, this stick in my mouth? What were you going to say with that? You're a crab. Crabs are kind of pretty. You're a bigger crab. You're even prettier. You're a ball. You're just a ball, bro. You're just a bigger ball, but for some reason you look cooler. The evolutions look so much cooler. Kansas, stick of it in your mouth. I knew you were going to say that. Kansas isn't real. It's actually... Okay. We're on our last 3-4 rows, but this is getting hard. That's what she said. A bunch of eggs. You're just like worse balls. And you're a plant that stands up with 2 feet and like 4 heads. You're actually disgusting. Like if I saw you in real life, I would actually like... I think I would throw up. I think I would legit throw up. But at least you don't shit your pants, so you get that. Cubone kind of cute. Cubone almost pristine. Execute. When I was streaming Psychonauts 2 earlier, someone hit me with a Psycho D's nuts. Cubone, yeah, Cubone actually might be pristine. And if you look at like the backstory where he's wearing his mother's skull, that's kind of creepy actually. But like he has a plump body, like a nice baby plump body. And then you got that, I mean, I'm not saying like babies have nice plump bodies, but he has a nice like body. Like he has a cute, he's cute, bro. He's cute. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to put him above Pikachu, actually. Was Marowak his name? He's really cool. Not as cute. I'll put him here. He's the top echelon of pretty, though. Cubone is definitely pristine, though, yeah. Oh my god, bro. The Hitmonlee, bro. Hitmonlee, bro. I just added those yesterday. Do you like that, Nathan? Do you guys like that? Anyway. Hitmonlee. He's like a boom, boom, boom. He kicks a lot. He got bandages on his legs. Obviously, he trains a lot. But he's not cute. He's an ugly mother father, okay? His head, he's like an alien-shaped head. It's bigger than the rest of his body. It's circular. It's disgusting. But his legs are pretty good shape. And he's a fighter. And I respect that. And so I'm just going to say he's pretty ugly. Okay? Even uglier than Pidgey. And somehow, just the heads, bro. The heads make some guys just so ugly. If you're gonna spam it, then you get unmodded. The potato with legs is pretty to me. The potato with legs, Hitmonlee, the one I just like put as pretty ugly. It's just his head, bro. It's just I can't make him pretty. Now, Hitmonchan, I think that's his name. He got a skirt. He's a guy and he has a skirt. He's ahead of his time, okay? And I respect that. And he's pretty cute, bro. He's a good boxer. He doesn't do leg day much. He doesn't do arm day, but he does hand day, if you know what I mean. And his head looks cool. He's just all around like a good-looking guy if I saw him in real life. So I gotta put him pretty up there, okay? Speaking about fighting, I fought someone today. What the hell? Did you win? Yeah. It's rather cool, you're right. Yeah. Speaking about a small price to me. You won? Nice. Lick a tongue! Oh my god, guys. Wait. I carry this on my wallet. Okay. You know why? Because if I see a girl, I could say, "Ha, you wanna lick some tongue?" And then she's like, "Yo!" And then I get married. So that's in my wallet. Yeah, probably gives the best head. But I don't know if he's cute. He's a pervert. He's kind of a pervert Pokemon. Like, he's like, "Ugh!" And he's just like, would lick you, bro. His head looks like a... His eyes are just like a black hole. I'll say he's neutral. Pretty down there, but he's neutral. Nice. Disgusting. Why were you fighting? Yeah, why were you fighting? We're almost done, finally. Alright, we got coughing. Kind of cute somehow. Deadly, but cute. Bulbasaur might... Yeah, I'll say he's there. And he just evolves into an ugly being. Kind of ugly, bro. Kind of ugly. Alright. Now, he challenged me? What the hell? Now, Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn looks pretty cool. But not pretty cute. So I'm gonna say he's neutral. He's like a Blastoise. Like, a lot of the cool characters are neutral. He looks cooler than Blastoise. The first time Blastoise kind of went down there. Right on these nuts! It's pretty up there. I'd say he's kind of pretty. He's kind of pretty. He's kind of pretty. How pretty is the question? I'd say that's fair. Yeah, maybe here, actually. Rhydon is huggable. He'll just, like, crush you with his arms. But yeah, I could see that. I could see that he's huggable. If he did, he would be in a state worse than death. Sheesh! Well, these kinds of jokes are so... Should I scroll up a bit, Cashew? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Well, actually, you didn't say any, did you? Oh, Doggin? Ping Pong doesn't understand comedy. Yeah, my jokes are dumb. Alright. That's Chansey, right? Chansey is almost super cute. Then you got those, like, that hair, bro. Why do you got that hair? The hair... Still super cute. I'll say you next to Jigglypuff. I'll say you next to Jigglypuff. Now we just got this. Somehow you're cute. I don't know how. No one asked me to explain it. Somehow this Pokemon is pretty cute. I don't know how. But somehow you're cute. Suppose it's hug me now or else I'll break you. Chansey is thick. Yeah. I like that. We got Kangaskhan. Yo, if Kangaskhan's son was a Pokemon in Gen 1, bro, you possibly pretty high up there. But you're basically just another one of these, okay? You're a Rhydon, these nuts. You're like, you're not special. You're like one of the Nido Queens. You're a Nido King. Like, that's all you are. Kangaskhan is, ugh. Yeah, but I don't know if I could rate Kangaskhan lower, since I have these other two here. What the hell? This is a Japanese version. Oh, we're almost done. Not gonna lie, someone might challenge me tomorrow. What the hell? Okay. Oh, we're almost done. We have a lot of pretty Pokemon. We have an okay amount of neutral, but the pristine and disgusting are the least, which seems good. Hit him with the sexy Jitsu. Kageben Jitsu. Horsey is mad cute, but not pristine. Mad cute, bro. Actually, you're basically like a cuter Squirtle. I don't know how your head works, but it works so well. And you got wings, which makes no sense, but it's so cute. Now, Seadra looks cute. If Kingdra was here, Kingdra would be pristine probably. But Seadra, I would say, is cool looking. I don't know about cute. Look like another Ivysaur, but not as cool. Oh, they're fins? Oh, that makes it even cuter. Yeah, I guess they are fins. Goldeen kind of pristine. Bars. Goldeen is kind of pristine, and those lips are just... You're like a human lips, bro. So sexy. You might actually be even... Oh my god. You're so up there. Then you evolve into just a pretty looking person. You're pretty. Pretty. But not pretty. Yeah, there you go. I'm concerned that there are so many neutral and below Pokemon. Are there? I feel like most of it is pretty though, no? Listen, we still have some amazing Pokemon in the end that are gonna get added, so don't forget about that. There is no song request right now. I just thought it would be cool to have Pokemon songs for the Pokemon part of the stream. But afterwards, I'll turn on song request. Considering that there are so many fuckable Pokemon, bro, just if you're gonna whip it out and just get excited, just hit me with the DMs, Cashew, with some videos and stuff. Anyway, we got Staryu next. Staryu kind of cute, but also has no eyes and is just a star, which makes you kind of neutral. But you kind of cute the way you move your arms. You're like a Tentacool cruel cute. I don't know, man. And then this Pokemon kind of pristine. I don't know if it's pristine or just on the cusp of pristine. I'll say you pristine. Actually pristine here. More pristine than Rapidash. Yeah. Make this smaller once more. Guys, is it too small or can you see all the Pokemon okay-ish? If it's too small, I'm gonna have to change stuff up. I just want it to be, enough room for everything. I feel like we're gonna have to make it smaller again. I didn't think of this. They should allow you to, like, extend this out. It's kind of dumb that they don't. But yeah. Is it okay? Is it okay? Mr. Mime equals Ash's father. True! Mr. Mime is a human with gloves that mimes everything and doesn't speak. Kind of weird. I'll say neutral. You're like a human being. You're not as creepy as a Lickitung, though. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's okay. That's canon. Yo. Scissor could scissor me in the butt and I would love it. Scissor actually... Oh, no, that's Scyther. Scyther actually is one of the coolest looking Pokemon, but he's not cute. He's not really cute. If we look at the picture, he's kind of cute. He's kind of cute. I don't know if I should add him to pristine. He would be like the lower echelon of pristine. But then, like, I feel like Alakazam has to be there, so we'll put him up there. I guess this is Japanese Leaf Green and Fire Red music. Isn't that interesting, guys? No. It's high pretty, not enough for pristine. Right? Yeah, okay. Bro, this Pokemon is ugly, bro. You are ugly. You know how they perfected the mouth of Goldeen? So you're like... Or not Goldeen, whatever. Goldeen. Jinx is just why you got blonde hair with, like, purple skin and like a red dress. You just look stupid. You're pretty ugly. You're pretty ugly. Pretty ugly. Another fuckable Pokemon. Kind of. But also ugly. By Ditto. Wait, by Ditto? If this was a list about which Pokemon give the best head, Jinx would be top tier. Bro, you're making me want to make that list now. Jesus. I didn't realize 151 Pokemon is like 151 Pokemon. Like, it's a lot of Pokemon. But can you guys actually see everything okay? Because no one really answered that. And I just want to make sure, because, like, for YouTube, you know, it's going to be on YouTube and everything. And, like, you know. It's fine? Okay, thank you. Alright, we got Electabuzz. Cool looking Pokemon. Hands are freaking bigger than your whole body. Arms are weak, bro. You need to go to arm day. And you got a tail for... No one knows why. You remind me of Meowth. You're like a slightly cooler version of Meowth. Then we got the fire version. You're a bit chunky. Kind of hot. You got fire. Pretty fire. Pretty neutral. I wouldn't say cute. Pretty neutral. Big Chungus. What about Ekans, bro? Can unhinge its jaw. But Ekans got that eye that's just nasty. I don't know. The eye does not look good. I don't want to make this any smaller, so we're just going to scroll down from now on. Alright, we got the pincing guy. He pincers things, right? Kind of cool. Skinny ass arms. A lot of these Pokemon need to do arm day. It's kind of just like... You're neutral. You're neutral with your other arm buddies. You're worse than Meowth, though. Taurus is pretty cool. Not cute. Pretty cool. You got 3 tails, which means you can do a lot of work with those tails. So you're going to be pretty cool. You're pretty cool Pokemon. Pretty cool. Not cute. Pretty cool. Magikarp, things become a bit hard. Things become a bit hard with Magikarp. Magikarp or Gyarados? I think Gyarados would bite your PP off and Magikarp would give better head. That would be my assumption. But Magikarp... Not cute. He just looks dumb. He's just neutral. He just looks dumb. He's just a dumb-looking Pokemon. But at least... Yeah, I would say he's there. Lives inside of our hearts. Pristine. Nah, but he looks so dumb. He looks so dumb. If it was a shiny Magikarp, maybe, but... Now, Gyarados, I would say is pristine. He looks really cool, but he's not cute. He's not cute at all. Okay? He's like one of those Rhyhordons. Rhyhordons. I forgot his name. Lapras is freaking sexy, bro. Lapras is pristine. Lapras is pristine without a doubt. Okay? Lapras is better than Pikachu, but not as good as Cubone. Oh my god, Ditto. Ditto's eyes are just a black hole, but because it's so gooey and it's so and it's just like I feel like he's pristine, but he's not. I would say he's pretty cute. He's pretty cute. He's like near horsey. Eevee's mad sexy cute. He's like sexy cute. Alright? He's like sexy cute. Lapras is rule 34. Probably good stuff out there. To rank, if you have to rank every other Pokemon first. To rank it, you have to rank every other Pokemon first. And Ditto would be like neutral in the middle then, right? Nah, but I'm saying just how Ditto looks. Ditto can transform into all of those. You have to... I know, bro, okay? But we're not going to do that, okay? We're not going to do that. It's too much work, okay? Eevee is cute, almost pristine, but not quite there. Like, pretty high up. I would say almost pristine, but missing something. Like, it looks like the type of person that's like, yo, I'm cool, I'm cute, but also you know that I can't harm you. That's why you're not pristine, okay? Vaporeon. Oh, Pokemon with the dumb face of Ditto, not that cute. True. But if you look at the picture, he's kind of cute, so we're gonna go with the pictures. I'll do it. Okay. Let's zoom into Vaporeon here. We're gonna zoom in, okay? Oh, that looks so much nicer. Vaporeon got that scaly, sexy body. But it got that stupid mouth a little bit. It has a pointy head. You could do a lot with a pointy head. Oh, that tail is so, like, wispy. But then it got those ears that just doesn't make... Then it has, like, a clown... Oh my god, it's so hard to rate you. Vaporeon's my waifu. Would give amazing head. Yes! I think it would give amazing head. Anyway. Porygon hot as fuck. Oh, we're not at Porygon yet. I don't think I'll say that, though. Let's zoom out. Vaporeon. I'm gonna say you're neutral. There's something about you that just scares me. You just look so nasty and cute and beautiful and majestic and disgusting at the same time. Jolteon's a really cool Pokemon, but not really. Kind of cute. Kind of has a cute face. Actually, pretty high up there in the cute. Ditto, you're not as cute as Squirtle, sorry. Or Marowak. Actually, Ditto, I don't know if you're cute anymore. You're kind of ugly. We're gonna put you here. Flareon is cute. Flareon's kind of pristine. Flareon's actually pristine. Flareon's actually a sexy looking Pokemon. Jesus. Wow. Did not expect that at all. And Porygon is just pretty ugly, bro. Nah, he's neutral. Porygon is like a... He's just shapes, bro. Okay, this guy's disgusting. He's just arms, bro. He's disgusting. He's disgusting. He's pretty up there in the disgusting tier. And his pre-evolution is kind of cute. Not gonna lie, kind of cute. Kind of cute. We're getting to the end here. We're getting to the end. Kabutops is just neutral. He's just a crab. He's like another crab just walking around. Even though I put the crabs that kind of cute, like pretty or whatever here, he's not cute. He's just a crab. He's worse than Mr. Mime. Yeah. And we got this guy who looks coolish. He's actually pretty ugly. Look at his head. And he got like lizard legs. I don't even know. He's actually pretty ugly. Sorry, bro. You pretty ugly. You're actually up there in the ugly list. Okay, Aerodactyl looks cool. Big head. I'd say neutral. He looks cool, but... He's like a Gengar. He looks cool, but it's not really cute at all. Oh, Snorlax. You might get Crunchyroll. Oh, I have Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is great. Whew! Last 8 Pokemon, baby! Snorlax. Gotta zoom in for this one. Oh, he's cute, bro. He can't see his pee-pee, bro. That's how cute he is. He's a chunky boy. He's not pristine. He's almost pristine. I'll say he cute. He pretty cute. He pretty cute. He's pretty cute. He's pretty cute. Yeah, he's pretty cute. There we go. Hi, I'm new. Have you seen those huge Snorlax plushies? Having one is the goal of my life. Ooh, yeah, those are nice. Unfortunately, it's not a plushie, but yeah. I'm paying for Crunchyroll and Funimation, but I barely watch it either. Oh, damn. I watch Crunchyroll a lot. You can't see your PP either. Yeah, that's why I would be pretty cute as well. Thank you. Legendaries time! Legendary time, baby! Articuno. Let's zoom in to really see their faces and their bodies. He's actually pretty ugly. Bro, why do so many Pokemon of this generation have that feet, though? He's kind of ugly. He's almost pristine, but his chicken legs... his thighs are literal chicken thighs. Like, show a picture side by side of chicken thighs and Articuno, and that's what it is. His upper body is just so majestic that and his the lower body just ruins it, but his tail is sexy. So confusing. Oh, I guess Dratini... Wait, Dragonite is not legendary. So these aren't legendary, actually. Yeah, I was wrong there. Articuno. I'm sorry, bro. You're actually pretty ugly. You're like almost as ugly as Pidgey. Like with those feet, bro. Those feet just ruin everything. Now the feet on Zapdos actually look good. The feet on Zapdos look good. He looks cool, but he doesn't look cute. He has a triangle head, trapezoid head. We'll put him at a nicer Aerodactyl. Moltres has this beak. He looks cool. He looks majestic, but not pristine, because he doesn't look cute. He's like up there, though. Moltres is like that guy from a One Piece that could fly. That's what he reminds me of. Not cool, not cute, but really cool. So I'll put him at that. He's pretty much a high neutral. Articuno is the most elegant, but Articuno's lower body is just disgusting. Zapdos the most badass. Zapdos is pretty badass. Moltres is pretty beautiful, but not that pretty, honestly. He looks cooler than pretty, to me at least. Check out my latest video if you want to subscribe. A lot of the streams, taking out content from streams for YouTube videos. Once a week, 1 to 2 times a week, YouTube videos. So, yeah. Anyway. Alright. I love Dragonite. You cute, bro. You actually cute. Alright, you're a worm. You have, bro, I'm telling you, those angel ears just get, they just get to me. You're actually cute. You're actually cute. You're actually really cute. You're pristine. You're pristine. You're freaking pristine, Dragonite. Okay? The most of those 3? Yeah, that's fair. You're mad sexy. You're mad sexy, bro. You're mad cute. You go all the way pretty. You're pristine. You're freaking pristine. Okay? You, Dragonite! Oh! Wartortle is still so cute, bro. And pristine. Oh my god. It's your head, bro. Dragonite, your head is like... You got some chunky thighs. It's so sexy. But your head is kind of small, so... Wartortle takes it there. Dragonair, Dragonite, Dratini. I think Dragonite, Yeah, Dragonair might be more pristine. But Dragonair is so... too simple, I think. That's the thing that kind of makes it hard for me. Dragonite is just so sexy, bro. That orange is just such a unique, like, I don't know why. And he got that, like, the things coming out of his... I'm horny for Angel. I like the angels. Angel ears and stuff. Alright, the last 2. We got Mewtwo. Mewtwo is really cool. Kind of ugly. He got these webbed feet, webbed hands. Kind of ugly. Cool looking guy. Kind of ugly. Deformed face. I don't know about pretty ugly. I'll say he's neutral because it's freaking Mewtwo and he looks cool. Yeah, I'll say he's like here. Now we have Mew. I want to say Mew is cute. If you look at... I'm thinking of the anime a bit now. He's pretty cute. He's he's pretty pristine. I'm going to say he's pristine. F it. He's freaking Mew. This is our list. Surprisingly, we got Dugong as the most pristine. We had Wartortle up there since the beginning. But this is the list. Just going to zoom in here so everyone can see everything. Oh. A lot of pretty Pokemon I put. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised that the least is disgusting. And then it's pristine, and then pretty ugly, and then neutral, and pretty is the most. Wow. Wow, you pretty much agree with most of them? Oh, that's cool. Where does Missing No rank? Missing No is just neutral. Or pretty ugly. I don't know why, it's not disgusting. Because he has like a cool form. Can people do Godstream, or you have to do work? Right now, we're not going to do Godstream. Godstream I like on weekends. Muse, that's all of them. Yep. Damn. Damn! Damn Daniel. No, now we're gonna do Throne Kingdom at War. I'm sponsored by them, but that's not why. I actually enjoy the game, so I want to play it right now. I will put song requests on, and then we'll do community games after that. Let me just set up song requests real quick. Let's X that. Good night, Doctor. I love that you used that. My favorite Pokemon ever? I think Rayquaza's up there for one of my favorite Pokemon. It's very hard to say ever, but Rayquaza is high up there. Very high up there. Alright, let's go to Throne Kingdom at War. I want to actually... I think it would be cool to actually play with everyone this game. But, you know. Not only because I'm sponsored. Obviously, I would love for you guys to support me and download the game and play the tutorial to help me out. But... also, like, if we could get, like, a clan of, like, all of us together, I feel like it would be really fun to just demolish people. This is nice for song requests, though. Let me just open the game. And do that. Yep, that's good. The only problem I find when I put this... Oh, I have to go full screen like that. That's fine. Okay. It is fine. Never mind. Just gonna fix this stuff. Put this up here. Gonna wax my legs soon. Probably. Then we're gonna go to screen avatars. And make that a little bigger. So it doesn't get in the way of the web. Okay, that's good. Oh! You have a Rhydon that's shiny? I just realized that. And Doctor has a shiny Cubone. Nice. Nathan with the Yveltal. And the last thing I'm gonna put up for now is... I'll just put this on since we are streaming it. Need that God Monkey up there. Look how careful I am. I'm trying to, like, perfect everything here. There we go. That looks good. I'm so cool. Let's go here. Am I missing anything? Is the music loud enough? Okay, it seems fine. Okay. Let's play this game. Oh, I have to change my stream information. That's what I'm missing. Join the clan. Hashtag sponsored. We'll do some community games a bit later as well. What is Doctor's Cubone holding? Oh, I didn't see it. I don't know. I didn't pay attention. So everyone that is not at level 13 have gotten attacked. Nice. Really? Were you able to take out guys that were like level 10s and stuff? For anyone who doesn't know, I'm sponsored right now by this game. But it's actually pretty fun. I actually don't know what to put. I guess I'll upgrade this. Let's see. The nice thing about starting off is they give you a lot of boost. I don't know how I got 200 boosts, but I'll take it. Let's upgrade this. This is 30 minutes. Ooh, what is this song? This sounds cool. We'll play 2 of these. Nuts. Spawn Cubone. Basic. Ooh. What is... Oh, he's holding a bone. Oh, that's cool. Cause... Oh, that's cool. Do you need stone? I'm okay for... Nah, I'm okay for now. Thanks, though. Look at my town name. What is this song? Who put this song? Did I put this song? Gamburu. Oh, you put this song. Gamble? I've never heard this song. It sounds nice, though. You played it! Wait, you played it. Oh, you might have requested it last time, and now it's up this time. Damn, you're level 9, bro. Nathan. Wow, I can't see what your town name is. Ping Pong Horny. Ooh, this guy's level 7. Let's espionage, see. Oh, I only have 33 guys there. I'm gonna send my guys for some iron, because why not? I feel like I have so many troops, but then they just get demolished. Actually, this is the most troops I've ever had, I think. The song sounds nice. Resources delivered. Try to ask people if they want to join the order. Right now we got 3 people. This is my friend IRL. That's Nathan, and that's me. Alright, let's see. If you guys like this type of game. And anyone is more than welcome to song request. Exclamation point music to see. This game is Throne Kingdom at Wars. You could exclamation point throne. Nathan, can you exclamation point throne? I'm basically sponsored by them right now. So if you download using my link, that helps me out. And you play through the tutorial. But I'm sponsored by them for a bit. And also it's actually enjoyable for me. I actually enjoy this game. I don't need to stream it right now, but... Thank you, Nathan. Throne? Yeah. Throne. Your second sponsor? Nice, right? Yeah, second sponsor. It's pretty cool. I wanna... Yeah. I wanna... Like, I feel like it would be really cool to play with this with a bunch of people. It's that type of game. And you could do quite a bit of stuff at the same time. I'm gonna improve my palace. And let's go build the wall. Like Trump would say. Oh my god, I have to do so much here. 1 hour. Let's go. Go to... How much do I have to improve my port? Jesus. Okay. Oh my god, 16 hours for this upgrade. I'm attacking the level 7 town. I went to scout them. The scout doesn't really return much. I was surprised. I thought it would return a lot. Let's see, what to do. I don't have... Ayaka. Oh, this is a different version, right? Alright, we're gonna upgrade farms here. Because I'm actually running out of food per hour. Which is not good. Boom! Let's get all that money in here. Do I want to spend 16 hours? Well, I wouldn't be spending 16 hours, but... Let's get some more troupes in here. Senbon Zakura. What is that? Oh yeah, Epicuro. If you'd like to request music, you're more than welcome to. Oh yeah, let me get some troops in here. What troops? Why is it playing so long? We're gonna get militia. Militista in here. I'm actually gonna boost this up because I'm lazy. With a 3-hour boost. I want some informers, baby. Look at that. So many stuff, so much stuff. Boom! I won. Go attack them if you want, because they're weak now. Oh, okay. With the level 7s? Yeah, but I won't get any resources, probably. Nah, I'm not gonna attack them. Ayaka! Jesus, the song's so frustratingly annoying. Oh, finally. Alright. We're upgrading building. We're training warriors. What else do I have to do here? I have 35,000 power? That seems so high to me. Oh yeah, let me research something. What should I research, y'all? Military. Economica. I feel like economics is one of the best things to upgrade. Basically makes everything faster. But it costs so much. I need 80k of everything. Right now I have not 80k of... Whoa, I have like no lumber. That is not good. Let's boost this by 5 minutes. I actually want to boost all my let's see. This gives me 1.3k, 2k, 1.7, 500. Yeah, this is going to be hard when I get more soldiers, so I need to actually improve farms. You need wood? I need wood too. I'm going to upgrade farms though. I know this song from... Where is this song from something? Palace. I'm gonna upgrade a farm here. 20 minutes. We'll do a 15-minute upgrade so we don't have to wait as long. Look at that bear. Isn't that cool? There's like a literal bear in the middle of nowhere. I think it's a pretty popular Vocaloid song. Is it Hatsune Miku? That must be where I heard it from. I'm looking at the video. It looks kind of cool. For anyone wondering, this is how the video looks. Senbon Sakura. 1,000 origin Sakura. 1,000 books of Sakura leaves, or origin of Sakura. That's what it translates to. Now we could do this for free now. Let's upgrade the farm even more, baby. We'll do two 15-minute ones, and we'll just wait a few minutes. Yeah? Oh, it is Hatsune Miku. Sheesh. I want this to be at least 1,000 per hour. Hey. These are important to do. This song was on one of the first rhythm games I played. Oh, cool. I gotta get back to rhythm games. It was a demo, not the full game. Oh. What was the rhythm game called? Or what is the rhythm game called? Ooh, I could upgrade my boy. Training speed. Ooh, farming? I could upgrade farming. Increase production of food. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. That's actually going to help a lot. Let's do that. That one doesn't matter much, I feel, right now. Hatsune Miku Project Mirai DX on the 3DS. Oh, cool. Such a weeaboo. If you go to order and click battle, you can see every battle experience. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Build. I'm happy. My friend is addicted too. Or maybe so he's been playing a bit as well. Requests to join list of orders. Where does it say that? I wonder if we could attack other... Like, we need more players to do more stuff, but yeah. Let's see. What am I missing here, guys? Oh. Doing that for free. So now... Ooh, it's over 1k food. Awesome. That was actually worth it. We got 1.7k, 1.3, 2k. That's actually pretty nice. I've never heard... I didn't know they had many Hatsune Miku games. This has 10 more minutes to finish getting some... Oh, this song is so good. I think this is my song, yeah. Guys, if you've never watched Magi and you're into anime, I highly suggest it. It's a great show. I'm gonna attack this guy again since he didn't answer. Oh, I don't have all my soldiers, right? The music is so good from the show, really. You cannot attack? Oh, my guy's busy. Training warriors. What building to build? What building to build? Can I friend you on Bassbook? What is that? Let's do some more Economica. I really want to do this one. This is so good, guys. Oh, I don't have any of these. I have a silver application. I have an iron application. And that's it. The thing with this is, like, 80,000 is just so good. I think it's bass, bass like the instrument. Bass. I read it as bass. Gotcha. Oh, thanks for sending me money. You don't need to send me stuff. What the hell? That was a Japanese song? Yeah. Gomenasai. What to attack? What to attack? Well, we can't attack anyone because of the soldiers right now. Hima hima, one-chan. Spearman defense. That might be worth it, actually. Should we do it? I actually like the fact that this gave me more capacity for, or farming or whatever. What does this do? Speed up stone production. That seems really helpful, and it costs like nothing. We could boost this by an hour. But I'm actually kind of curious how much that'll give me. Right now, we're making 2,140, 1380. 1380. Move! 2,140. Oh, I boosted it by like 20. Check. Go to... I think it's bass like the instrument. Wait, it's not bass like the instrument. That just hit my head. Like, my brain. Bass line, yatteru? They said, do you play the bass line? This is such a weird song. Velo. I feel like the Velos attacked me. Maybe because you attacked them? I think this guy attacked me before, actually. He has a shield up now, though. And I tried to attack him, and I got owned. I think his friend sent him guys. I think that's the only explanation, really. Yeah, I would help demolish them if I had more troops and stuff. Let's just apply this since we can, and we'll do a simple 4-minute one. They attack, use first, so we have to get them back. Yes. Well, they haven't attacked me since, but definitely. By the way, helping helps. Helping helps when you help teammates. I like this song. It sounds cool. The girl child wants to speak. What is that? Studying speed goes up to this. Ooh. What do I need for this? 84,000. 84,000 stone. Let's see how much longer for my soldiers. 80,000 stone. Yeah, after this, I'm gonna have to get I'm gonna have to push stone. Too mellow, spin a reason. I like how it shows your guys here. Alright, let me see. Do I have any? Ooh, I do. Only 3. Oh, okay. It's literally 1 second per each guy to heal. It's pretty cool. I don't know what upgrading this means. Oh, you could heal more guys at a time. I don't really need to do that. I'm thinking what I should upgrade to. Baseline, yatteru? The song is actually based. Alright, we're gonna increase this. Should be done in 14 minutes. Hey, nice jumping. Most of the songs are ones I discovered from rhythm games. I could see them. They're very rhythm. They're very rhythm. I found a way to farm a lot of wood. Well, you could attack the wood stuff that's nearby. So like this one you could attack. Which you have. Yeah, I attacked the stone and iron ones for wood. Oh, this guy's a level 9. He's pretty close. You know gold? We don't even have enough for gold. For one. Oh, this is enough for 1 gold. I didn't have enough for gold before. Gold is like insanely... How did I get 100k gold? I had like 20k before. I don't know how that happened. Alright, let's see the daily quest. Yo, let's go. I can't do any of these nuts. Shimata. Shimata. Janakute. Alright, that's nothing. What is this? My lord. Oh, I can't do that. No, I can't do anything at bank. I just went to it. I would have to spend real life monies. That was an interesting song. But what's here? Rhythm. Ooh, this song sounds so cool. To the sound and feel. To the rhythm. To the rhythm. Okay, let's get this treasure now. Hey, iron. I needed iron. I don't really know if I should do the VIP. I think it's a limited time thing. There's something you can get for. Yeah, I already got the free thing, Nathan. But thank you. What? Ooh, we're ranked 99 plus. That's so bad. I mean, there's a lot of people here. There should be different servers for this game. IMO. Let's have some fun. I actually really like this song. It sounds mad nice. Let's have some fun. Some fun tonight. Alright, this building is taking forever. I'm so impatient. We're gonna do a 3-minute and another 3-minute. Boom. Let's boost it. Stone should be 2,000. Nice. Iron, I need to bump up. Iron is only 1,300, 1380. I would love to have everything at 80k. Maybe if I just do all the stuff they're asking me to. Spearsman. Split to the rhythm. Let's do that. And let's boost it by 3 hours. Let's do 2-3 hours. That's kind of a waste, but... Give me the stuff, baby! Spearman defense. Wait, didn't we just do that? Oh, no, we didn't. When our work is done. What does the int do again? Reinforcement troops. I don't need that, but I'll upgrade it. Oh, it's 6 minutes. Oh, it's like nothing. I thought it was 6 hours. Oh, that's fine then. Did you say you don't need to send me, bro? It lowers the amount of resources. Aw, that's sweet. You don't need to do that, bro. Concentrate on your stuff. Oh, you gave me a lot. Thank you. I think I should have stone after this. Back to the rhythm. What else did I want to do? I have too much iron. Oh, okay. If it's okay with you, then I'll take it. I'm not gonna complain. Okay, this. I'm so impatient. Let's do. Yeah, let's just do it. Barracks to level 7. What does this let me do? Oh, I get to train more warriors. That's actually pretty useful. Oh, this is a great song. Let's do 15 minutes and 3-minute one. Boom, baby. Right now, this is pretty easy to do. Your hands on me. I like doing all these quests. Infirmary to level 7. Oh, it's only an hour. This is from an anime, but it's like all in English. Kind of cool. IMO. Oh my god. I'm wasting all my like quick stuff, but I mean they're there for a reason, right? What does a manor do? Hero experience goes up. That is actually worth it. Yeah, we'll use the 3-hour one. We have 200 3-hour ones. Is that because I'm sponsored, or is that because they just gave it to me? I don't even know. I'm assuming they're gonna ask for cavalry defense eventually, so let's just boost that as well. Let's go there. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, well, we still need a lot, but this is actually not really working out. I think I should have done a different thing. I have to... Oh. My soldiers are back, which means I could actually attack and get something. So we're gonna steal all of this stone, baby. Cradles, of course. Nice. Boom, baby. Let's go. 11,000. It's better than attacking other people at this point. Attacking other people doesn't give much resources, it feels. A card of you keep sending resources? Jesus. What do I need? Oh, I need stone. I need like 40k stone. You don't need to send it to me, but I'm just saying I need 40k stone. Damn, you too nice, bro. Giving me that food, that meat. Let's see. We got this. Make sure your treasury is pretty built up also, Nathan, and anyone else who might be playing. Because you want to defend for materials. I think we'll go to a community game for now. But I don't know if everyone enjoys this game, so. Community game time. What do you guys think of Gartic phone? Only for a bit though. I'm actually pretty tired. I forgot how much energy streaming takes. I also spent a lot of today editing. But I'll just put it on the community games. Community games. Gartic time. We'll do some Gartic. We haven't done Gartic in a while. Gartic phone. In 10 minutes. I sent stuff to you. I know, thank you. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it. Why do I have 17 reports? What the hell? What'd you send me? Oh, was that... Did you just send... Why'd you... How do you have so much food? What the hell? Bro, don't give me that much. 1.6 million? Bro, you should not give me all that. You really shouldn't. I can't... Bro, I can't use that all. What the hell? That's way too much food, man. People are gonna attack me and steal all of it. Oh my god. Thank you, though. Oh my god. Too much food. What can I spend? I can spend food. I mean, the good thing about farming... Oh my god, bro. 3 million? The good thing about food is that you can make more soldiers. But I guess I'll boost this and I'll concentrate on making more soldiers. Jesus. What's the most... Oh my god. Stop. 4 million? You have 16 million food? Bro, I don't need that. Oh my god. Wait, can you trade? Can you trade? Like with just AI or something? Resources to be sent. Tax. Because I would trade like food for iron or whatever. Here, I'll send my friend a bunch of the food. I could only send 100k. Let's keep sending 100k. I'm just gonna send him everything you send me. It's just gonna get stolen. Stop sending it to me. Well, I guess it will get stolen from you too, so it's fine. Thank you. That's way too much food, though. Alright, this is what we're gonna do. What is this? Hey! I forgot about that. How... Is there a way to trade? I'm gonna look it up online. Trade food... Throne Kingdom at war. There must be a way to trade, like... It doesn't say. Yeah, but people are gonna steal that food, Nathan. I don't need that much food. How do I... I'd rather trade it for stone right now. Because I need a little more... Well, a lot more stone at this point. But thank you, I appreciate it. Let me just upgrade this. And boom, level up, baby. Let's upgrade so we could get speed for training. Upgrade this random thing. Upgrade treasury. Yeah, we definitely need to upgrade treasury. We might just... Oh, no, we can't upgrade it more. Should I spend gold? You know what? F it. I'm gonna spend gold. 16 hours. I might just leave this overnight. I have 40 15-hour boosts? Oh my god. Why do I have all this? Jesus. Jesus Christ. Sent more stuff? Oh my god. Stop sending food, bro. Alright, we're gonna go to... what'd I say? We're gonna go to Gartic phone. I'll stop playing this game for now. I think there's a way you could actually save. Yeah, there we go. We'll put this. No. You're stressing me out with so much that you're sending me. Alright, let's do this. Wait, is this not Gartic on... Oh, here it is. Please copy the link, nothing. So you could put it in later as a mod. Onegaishimasu. This song is beautiful. Lola. Lola. Nachite Lola. We'll see if anyone will join. Ever since I started streaming less often, well, I mean, it's only been recently. It's been different, but... less people pop up, but I guess that makes sense. If we don't get people for this, we will end stream soon. like in 2 minutes, if we don't get enough people for Gartic. How's the food in stone and wood and silver? Pretty good. I need more of... I help ping and throne. Thank you, Nathan. La la. I need more of what's it called? Of stone, I think, yeah. Okay, it looks like we're gonna end today. Let me just say it on the community thing. No one here, so we're ending stream. Time to farm it. True. No, I'll farm it. No worries. We're gonna end stream here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy. Oh, you're coming? Okay, come through, cashier. If we have enough people soon, I did say 2 minutes. So technically, there's like 1 minute left. No, I'll give 1 more minute for people to join. Here's the link for anyone who'd like to join. And yeah, because I do want to play at least 1 game of Gartic before going off. Thank you, Nathan. We both farm it. True. Do you need stone? No. My cousin's like, we're gonna make a YouTube video on Sunday. That's what she just texted. Jesus, why does my gamertag thing look so weird? Cashew! Your guy also looks weird. Hello, my lowest Twitch streamer when it comes to views. my low loser Twitch streamer when it comes to you're a low Twitch streamer. True. What's up, Nico? Because I give you all the stone, I have same thing with the wood and silver. Oh. This song is great. It's from Barto. Only 4 people. It is what it is, Nico. I stopped streaming every day. I think that was part of it. And I'm kind of all over the place with what I stream, so. Timmy! Long time no see. What's up? You want to play some Gartic cashew? You want to play some cashew? You gave me everything but food? You gave me food. What do you mean you gave me everything but food? I'm gonna go on my phone, see if you gave me stone. Start calling it cashew phone. I'm doing good, man. How you doing, Nico? How you doing, Timmy, bro? Long time no see. You didn't give me stone, did you? I love this song. I'm on Throne right now. On my phone. So I'm addicted. How addicted I am. I'm playing COD Mobile with my chief. With my chief. Nice. Yeah, but you gave me a lot of food. You are amazing, Cashew. You know how to jump at the right time. If we have one more person in the next 20 seconds for Gartic phone, we will play. If we do not, Nathan, please put the link in chat. If we do not, then I will cry. And Cashew's amazing. And we will end stream. Put the link on Discord. I put the link on Discord, yeah. The thing is, from my experience, when I used to stream a lot, I would stream like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. And usually more people would come through like in the 7, 8 hour mark. Or like 6 hour mark, 4 hour mark. Like, this is pretty early for a lot of the people that I would attract. Spawna! Welcome. Thanks for contributing, Nathan. I think you forgot the link on Discord. No, I put the link on Discord. It's under community games. Oh, I'm an idiot. You're right, I didn't. I just assumed people would go on this stream. You're right, you're right. I just put it now, thank you. Alright, we'll start with a normal for now. Yeah, it's pretty early. It's 11:42 a.m. Well, early depending on who you ask, but we'll play it normal for now. Boom. What's the time at your place, Nico? I love this song. Don't stay. Timmy, nice contribution. Huh? Oh, I thought I had to write something. Nice contribution. I'm so addicted to Throne. Download Throne Kingdom at whatever at war with my link. What the hell? And it helps me financially to keep streaming and doing YouTube. If you download and play through the tutorial, and we can play together because I'm actually enjoying the game at the moment. So yeah, it's free, no money from you guys, and it's highly appreciated. Exclamation point Throne. You are my fire. You are my fire. You are my fire. Na 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 na. 9:43 in the morning. Damn. Oh, this is from Haikyuu. Oh my god, this is so sexy. Did you eat breakfast yet? I'll just put this there. Na 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 na. This is like a fire. Oh, I shouldn't do red. Damn it! The stupid times alert came at the same time. Oh, you didn't eat breakfast yet? What are you gonna eat for breakfast, if you don't mind me asking? Boom! Beautiful picture. Beautiful picture. Not debatable. I actually don't know how to improve this picture. It's just so amazing. Did I eat breakfast? No, I only had one meal today, actually. I didn't eat breakfast. I woke up, I edited for the Jump King video from the stream. I edited for YouTube. It's gonna go up tomorrow. Hashtag hell yeah. And pretty happy. I'm finally done with it. I probably could have tweaked it a bit more, but I was so tired of just editing, like looking at it. Oh, Jump King. And I ate one big meal. I'll probably eat after I stream and then go to sleep. And then edit tomorrow. Ooh, that looks mad sick. You guys definitely didn't draw this one. This was Sparta, or whoever it was. Sexy anime character leans back with head. Not like with their head. Nah, but I didn't eat breakfast. My schedule is starting to turn to normal. Only streaming twice a week now, though. 2 to 3 times a week. Which I'm gonna up once YouTube picks up, if it picks up. And once I get used to this new schedule I'm doing. Because I do like streaming a lot. I just want to use my time wisely, you know? And enjoy. And have you guys enjoy. This is definitely Nathan's. Wait, apples are green. Apples have a brown stem. Ooh, that's an apple. Not really. It's not really an apple. We gotta erase. No, we gotta erase it because it looks like a shitty apple. Like a slice, like it's cut off. There we go. Now it's an apple. Apples are usually red though. People see, right? Ugh. Now I really want to eat. Banana is beautiful color. Boom. Banana also has brown. Do they all have like a brown stem? We gotta go ping pong. I love how my hair is still red blue. Hey. By the way, anyone in chat can request music. Nathan, can you show them what it is for the music? Onegaishimasu. There we go. Boom. The apple doesn't look like a good apple. Oh, it's not yours? Oh, okay. Thank you, Nathan. What is that apple? This apple looks weird. Oh, wrong. Oh my god, I would have painted everything by accident. I feel like I'm ruining this apple. Huh. That looks pretty accurate. I don't know how I can make it better. Unless I put the apple on my butt and then the banana where my pee-pee is, where my penis is. Maybe that's what they were trying to suggest. I don't know. I don't know if that's Twitch friendly. Two people didn't finish their drawings. I wonder how amazing their drawings will be. Alright, we got... Oh, that was the last round because it's only 4 peeps. Alright, let's see. Nathan, can you put the link in chat as well? In case, if we got at least one more person joining, then we'll play another round. If not, I am feeling pretty tired, so we might end it here, unfortunately, but we'll see. Muscular Ping becomes a Pokemon. Not bad. I don't know why I have a butt. Man flexing his testicles. Those are testicles now? Nice. Spawner, you draw nice, man. Or woman. I don't know who you are because you haven't said who you are in chat, but welcome if you're new. Nathan giving Ping Pong too much food in the throne. True, he does. Oh wait, that's you. That's nice. Apple, banana, ping pong. It's very accurate. Jesus, I don't know how to draw. So you got Barbara commits murder. Wow. Wait, where's the murder? Oh, maybe you didn't have time, yeah? Sexy anime character leans back with head. Ooh. Oh. Ooh. He's showing off his pee-pee. Is that a Goku? We got Spawna here. You are my fire. Yeah, I tried my best. No, I didn't. But I tried hard. You're my fireball. You definitely heard me say it, yeah? Hey, nice! I really like this. This would be very cute if we were doing a cute rating. Alright, no one joined. So we will end it there, unfortunately. Thanks for joining. Check out whatever you want to check out. And have an amazing night, y'all. I'll see y'all over the weekend for God Monkey stream, possibly. I'll keep you updated on that, guys. Join the Discord if you haven't already to see that. And latest on Tuesday. Have an amazing night.